stage the man who wrote and directed the film, and 2 stars of the film, not just Nick Frost, but John Boyega as well, and Mr. Joe Cornish. Please welcome them to the stage.
Hello.
Oh, you didn't dance on stage.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Huh?
Hello, shoppers.
How are you all?
Good.
Well, very well. Today we're going to be demonstrating to you a new detergent that can cut through grease and grime faster than any... Anyway, never mind.
Can I point out it's a poster each for the first 10 of you? You don't have to share one. Edie said poster.
Oh,
You don't have to share.
I do apologise.
One between 10.
Let's get down to business. Joe,
Yes.
your film's been out a day.
Yes.
How does it feel that it's finally out there for the public's consumption? Is it a release, or do you feel quite kind of, I don't know, waiting for response from people?
No, it's a release. It's a general release.
Classic.
No, it's good because
Classic.
you... thank you. You make the film, right? We all made the film, and then you have to show it to investors and distributors, and then critics and bloggers, and only once you've done that can you actually put it in front of the public and find out what proper people actually think of it. So it's very exciting, yeah, very exciting.
What type of film did you set out to make? Because a lot of people might not know as well that film is kind of where you started. University, you studied it, and then you kind of fell into the comedy side of things with Adam and stuff. But this is your first love, really, isn't it, in a kind of way?
Yes, I went to film school after school, and then I trained in film, and I was very lucky straight out of film school to get a good job in the industry immediately behind the counter of Tower Video in Piccadilly. It was really good. So I thought I'll work my way up to the top to directing from selling videos, but then I realized that that was too long a ladder to climb. So me and Adam sent in some videos we made to this show called Takeover TV, and I ended up doing TV comedy for a bit. But yeah, this is very much the fulfillment of a childhood dream.
Because I think a lot of people assume that because you're synonymous with being very funny with you and Adam and stuff, that the film's a comedy. Would you say that that's a kind of preconception people have? Of
no,
the film?
that's okay.
Because it's funny.
Yeah, no, it's a bit like and I hope it's a bit like An American Werewolf in London, which is first and foremost a real and scary scenario with real characters, and then this freaky thing goes down, this fantastic thing happens, and the laughs are kind of a release, an escape. So for me, good horror comedy is scary before it's funny, and the laugh should come from being a little bit tense and scared. So that was our ambition anyway, yeah. So it's not, I'd be mad to attempt to do what Edgar has done, or try and repeat his style, because he's a genius and that will be foolish. So I've tried to do something else. I've tried to make a film a little like a John Carpenter film, or an 80s creature feature.
Yeah.
And it is, it's not quite as gaggy. It's a bit more sort of gritty, perhaps.
Let's talk about your cast. We have 2 of them here tonight. How did you find John? I know you're sat there in front of us. I'm going to talk about you for a second. How did you discover John?
We have in Attack the Block 11 young actors and actresses who were between the ages of, how old were Mike and Sammy? 10? Between the ages of 10 and 17 in our film, basically driving the film. And we auditioned thousands of kids, and some of them are completely new to the screen. Some of them had a little bit of stage experience. But yeah, most of them are new to the big screen. And John we found in a theatre in Kilburn, with a 10-minute walk-on role in a play.
Wow.
And he was just amazing, and he is amazing. And one of the great things about this film was the opportunity to give that many young actors substantial roles and give them give young actors who deserved it a real launch. And John's amazing in it. Take it from me. This is an incredibly talented young actor. Genuinely, like one of my favourite films growing up was The Outsiders. Does anyone remember The Outsiders at all? And that incredible cast that had, like Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise, C. Thomas Howell, Ralph Macchio. I hope maybe we've found a few future stars for the British movie scene
Nick
in this
Frost.
film.
It's going to be a name people are going to...
Well, I enjoyed doing it, and I'd
Remember?
like the chance to do it again. So,
we've got to throw questions out because we don't have that long, so I want to try and get as many of your questions as possible. Who would like to ask the first question? Gentleman here, what's your question?
oh,
Hello, Joe.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
What's
How
your
are you?
name?
My name's Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
The script seems to be quite contemporary culture. I'd be interested to know how many people you had involved with the writing and construction of, especially the dialogue for the younger cast.
Yeah. Well, it's set around the area where I grew up, but obviously I didn't grow up in those circumstances that are depicted in the film. But I did a lot of research. Basically, I figured out the story. Then I spent months and months going around youth groups in South London, talking kids through the story. And I would record everything everybody said. There was hundreds of kids. I went home and I transcribed it all word for word. I'm doing the miming actions here just to make it more dramatic. That's how I type, like that. And I got myself to a place where I thought I could do a reasonable, version of how they spoke. Or how the characters spoke, and then we basically wrote several drafts of the script, and then of course when we got the cast in, even though these guys are actors, they're not the characters in the film, they're professional actors creating roles. They were closer to that world than I was, or that mode of speech than I was, so they came in. Didn't you, John? You kind of helped for those last couple of drafts, right?
Yeah, we need to tweak a few words in the script.
Yeah,
Just to help
I'd use
Joe
the
out.
word frightfully a lot, and
Yeah,
one is terribly frightened
Yeah.
and stuff, so he had
I
to
wasn't really doing it, no.
fix that.
Was that nice for you in a way though, John? Because it was more involvement as well in a way in terms of you helping create the character
Yeah.
in another way as well.
We created these characters, but we wanted to feel as wanted to feel as natural as possible, like while filming the scene. So yeah, it was great being involved in the writing.
What's this experience been like for you?
Crazy, but it's been fun. I'm very humbled by it. Thanks for coming, guys.
Should we ask another question? Gentleman right there. Give me the mic. What's
poster
your...
winner, number
Hello,
3.
I'm Lawrence. Hi.
Hello, Lawrence.
Hey, Lawrence.
Yeah, I like the social commentary aspects of the film, and I think are you trying to voice out like that the young people are not generally bad, they were put into that circumstances, so you're trying to give them a voice in the film, isn't it?
Absolutely. What we wanted to do with the film, in a way, is start with the stereotype, and not necessarily the stereotype as it exists in the world, but the stereotype as it exists in people's imaginations, as depicted in the media and in some films. And so we start with what feels like maybe a Michael Winner film or an Abel Ferrara film, quite an archetypal kind of Death Wish style situation. But then as soon as this alien lands, it goes off in the other direction. And we're not absolving the characters for what they do. What they did was bad, and this isn't a sort of schmaltzy movie where the character has a complete transformation, and it's trying to respect the reality a bit more than that. But yeah, he does this one dodgy thing, and he almost invokes this invasion, and then everything that happens as a consequence of that one thing. And without giving away the ending, he has to learn the consequences of his actions. And by the end of the film, this guy that started the movie doing a cowardly thing does this incredibly brave thing. And so it's not a movie that says this is a misunderstood hero. It says that everybody, wherever they're from, whatever color, race, creed, whatever, has the capability of doing bad and good, but it can sometimes be affected by the circumstances in which they live and the choices that are being offered to them. So it's supposed to be like a John Carpenter film, as you so rightly said, a little bit of social subtext, but mainly just crazy monster chase sci-fi mashup movie.
Let's have a look at the trailer right now. It's a little independent British film, but it feels massive. Watching it at the cinema and the sound, the soundscape of it and how it's shot and stuff like that, it just feels and looks massive.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, it's like having a beetle just making its way to your mouth.
I like that. I love that feeling.
Yeah, just another Saturday night. No, we wanted to make like some of my favourite movies are high concept, low budget movies by first time directors. Like I love the first Terminator, I love Duel by Spielberg, I love Besson's early stuff, like Ridley Scott's first film, The Duelists. Like directors who try and do a bit more, they bite off a bit more than they can chew. And plus, that's what I love in cinema. Cinema for me isn't about dialogue necessarily. It's about, like for me, a good film you could probably follow with the sound down. It's about kinetics and movement and chases and action and editing. And I just wanted to have a go at all that good stuff, you know. So I'm happy if it feels it has some scale and excitement to it, you know.
Johnny, it was quite a physical role for you as well in terms of you were running quite a lot and sort of thing. Did you like that whole physical element of the challenge, I guess, as well?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm a like 2-disc special edition DVD buyer, so I always like tune in and see what I'm getting myself into. So yeah, I was prepared for it when they said I was about to get physical with the role.
Right.
But yeah, it was cool, man. Yeah.
Let's get some more questions. Who's got a question? Oh, lady right at the back, hello. What's your name?
Tia.
Tia.
What was the best scene for you to film?
John.
Something called the Hero Run, but if you haven't watched it, you wouldn't want to know what it was.
I watched it yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That part. I like that part.
Do you remember that bit at all?
You remember that bit?
Yeah.
Wasn't that camp? But
The Hero Run.
It did look better. What about you, Nick?
I did. We did like me and Luke Treadaway did like 3 or 4 scenes together. One morning we just came in really quick and did them quite quickly, didn't we? And they were great to do because we just sat on the sofa and me and Luke and Joe and Mike Bacall had kind of written some more little scenes and we just knocked them out in the morning. It's great just to kind of sit down and have a laugh. I think only one of them made it into the cut though, right?
Yeah,
Sadly.
those were the scenes. Do you remember the scenes with the posh boy? Who's
Yeah.
hanging out
Sleeping
sitting
on
on
the
you.
sofa.
Nothing to do with me. This kind of posh Fulham boy that is in the block just to pick up, and he ends up getting embroiled in the alien invasion.
So funny.
And so when all this stuff's going on at the bottom of the block, he's stuck in Nick's character's flat. And you're oblivious to what's going on around you, and you're enjoying supping on a bong. And
Well, it's business as usual until
Yeah.
it comes to your front door, you know, and then Ron realises that it's real, but he's got bigger fish to fry than aliens. You know, he's got business to attend to. That business is growing herbal marijuana.
We'll talk about the alien in a second. Right down the front, we've got 2 there. So we
Poster 5.
can, wow, good memory.
You screened the film in South by Southwest. How did the Americans take to the language?
They loved it. It was terrifying. It was the first time we'd shown it to anybody. It was an American genre audience, and this is a film that is very much inspired by American genre films. So it was really frightening. I introduced it, I couldn't stand in the room. I went and stood in the little antechamber outside the door, and I watched the film through the little glass porthole. And then when people started laughing and responding, I sort of went halfway out the door. And as I got more confident and they laughed more and more, the worst thing was, or the best thing was, it was showing in one of the Alamo draft houses, where you get food served to you while you watch. And I kept thinking the waiters were people walking out. I was like, shit, that person's leaving and they're taking their pizza with them. But then when I realised they were just staff, and actually nobody moved, everybody stayed glued to the screens. It's a fast movie, it really rockets along. And they loved it. They really understood the language. You know, for me, the language in this movie is science fictional. It's like Navi or Klingon or, you know, sci-fi fans, we know all these crazy words like Hoth and Bespin and dilithium crystals. And so it reminded me of the language in A Clockwork Orange as well. So I loved it. And we made the language as simple as we could. The movie sort of teaches you the language as it goes along. And the short answer is they loved it. They gave us the Audience Award for Best Midnight Feature. And there were queues around the block, and so it was really good fun. And we're getting American distribution by Sony Pictures later in the year across America. So it's very exciting.
Before we come to your question, we're going to watch another quick clip right now, which is a really good example of the whole language thing, and the boys are about to strike. We're going to ask this gentleman here for his question now.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you found it difficult sort of keeping to the original sort of intention of the film, and like, you know, how did you cope with the collaborative sort of process of like a big feature?
Yeah, I mean, there's this famous thing they say that you make 3 films, you write you write one film, you shoot another film, and then the film you edit is the 3rd thing. And I never really understood what that meant, but it just means that however accurately you try and recreate what's on the page, right, Nick? It will always. I'm asking your help here. It'll always change a bit. So, and then it'll change again in the cutting room. But I was surrounded by brilliant people, and I was very lucky in that respect. So it is pretty close to what I imagined. It's damn close to what I imagined, actually. I'm really pleased with how it came out. You know, is that a good enough answer?
Was
Thank you.
Was it a scary experience? Were you terrified by it? Was it
It's
kind of
still scary.
combination?
It's still
Okay.
scary. It's very. You know, a lot of people have invested a lot of money in it, and I've written and directed it. It's quite exposing, and for me, everything I've ever done on Adam and Joe, only people who love it know about it. But a film is something bigger. It gets presented to everybody. So yeah, we're very excited about the response it's had so far. But yeah, it's definitely. I think all filmmakers, however famous or successful they are, still get nervous. You know.
Do you feel that as well, Nick, with Paul, because you weren't just starring in it, you'd written it as well. Does it add that extra element of kind of pressure when you're more involved?
Yeah, well, yeah, it does. Absolutely, it does. But I just try not to think about it because I'd never get out of bed in the morning. It's just get up and, you know, as long as at the end of the day I'm happy and Simon's happy and Naira, our producer's happy, then that's kind of good enough for me. You know, if you start thinking about the big picture and reviews, and if people don't like it, you wouldn't ever do it. You know what I mean? It's not meant to be easy. I don't think. I like the fact that it's hard.
Yeah, good to challenge yourself. John, for you, with the rest of the cast, you know, in terms of your gang of buddies in the film and stuff, and the girls as well. Yeah, buddies. And the girls as well, who are brilliant. They just knock you boys down instantly. It's so good, which we'll see in a second. But did you guys hang out as a group to get to know each other before filming?
Yeah,
or
we didn't want to do the old cliche gang thing. We wanted to make individual characters, which meant making decisions about our costume and trying to bond like while we were off work and going out. A party at Leon's, which was wild. So we did a lot. I know I'd done personal things for my character because my character's kind of in his own world in a sense. And that meant me going back to watching season 4 of The Wire and looking at Michael's character in that and asking questions around my estate. Do you know what I mean? Because I've lived in South London all my life, but I think there's a difference between being, living there, and being a part of the madness that goes on there. So it meant kind of understanding Moses and to the reasons why he does the things he does in the film. So yeah, there's a lot of bonding.
Yeah.
A lot of love.
And we're going to have a look at another clip right now from the film. Every time, seen it twice, the film twice, and it still gets me every time, probably jumping out my seat.
This fella.
Yeah.
His glasses almost fell off.
The beast, the alien. How did you go about creating that? What was the inspiration and the
Lots of
thoughts behind
inspirations,
that?
really. Does anybody here play video games? Yeah, does anyone play old school video games? Anyone remember a SNES game called Another World? Oh, come on, Apple Store. Yes, thank you, sir. That was an old 16-bit. It was the first ever video game to motion capture a human, and it had amazing silhouetted creatures in it. The other thing that inspired it was the illustration on the side of the Space Invaders cabinets, that backlit monster that I always thought was an amazing design that didn't appear in the film. In the game.
You saw me with my shirt off one afternoon as well, didn't you?
That was a huge inspiration. Most terrifying sight of all.
I'll give it fur.
Yeah, we used Nick's actual body hair to fur the creatures.
It's just the stuff I lose
shed
during the night.
Shake off.
Yeah.
It's good.
This young lady for poster 10. Yeah, you. Oh, I see.
Hi, I love the film.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My question is about the music of the piece, because I love the soundtrack, and I'm just wondering, sort of Basement Jaxx, like what made you decide on those guys and how it sort of evolved?
Well, they're a Brixton-based band. They started off. Their first ever gig was on the junction of Mostyn Road and Brixton Road, where we shot a lot of the film. One of them's called Buxton. That made me feel comfortable. They were really our music supervisor's idea, and they sent in some demos, and they just kind of nailed it. And what I like about what they've done is it's very joyful, even though it's a scary thriller. Everything they do always kind of has a smile on its face, and you feel even in the most terrifying situation, Basement Jaxx would be like having a bit of a party somewhere along the line. So I think they've done a brilliant job, and they work with this guy called Stephen Price, whose first orchestral score it is. The pitch for the music was, this was before we got Basement Jaxx involved, my pitch was, imagine John Carpenter and John Williams going round to Roots Manuva's house and getting very high and composing a score. And I think that's what we've ended up with, this kind of combination of contemporary and old school electronics and orchestral kind of thing. But I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
If you liked it. You did like it. Good.
Gentleman at the back, hello. What's your name?
Elvis.
Elvis,
Hello,
how
Elvis.
are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Good, very well, thanks for asking. What's your question?
First of all, I've watched the film last week. It's an amazing film. Everyone needs to go and see it. If you haven't seen it yet, go and see it because it's
Thank
amazing.
you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We must
Just
have another
question
poster for Elvis for
Yeah,
that,
we need
surely.
a poster for Elvis.
Yeah.
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 I'm from an estate in South London, and if aliens came to my estate, that's exactly what probably would happen. The question I want to ask was, your film brought another depth to characters that we usually see in these sort of films. It kind of explained the motive behind why they do these things and why the gun culture's there, and showed the innocent side to the characters. I want to know if that was something you aimed to do.
100% yes.
Thank you very much for doing that, because it needs to be done.
Well, thank you, sir, and I'm glad you understood it. The responses are interesting, and that's absolutely the response that we hope to get. So thank you very much.
But it's really subtle the way you've done it. You haven't tried to kind of ram it down people's throats. You just kind of entwined it.
It's not a dialogue-driven film. Characters don't stand up and say what they think. They don't make great declarations. There aren't huge speeches about the turning points. It's an action movie, and character is shown through what people do.
Yeah.
So, and we've thought very hard about this film for a long time, and we're conscious of all these things. And we've really paid attention. We thought about this a lot. And everything is there for a reason. And some people will understand it, other people may understand, but the vast majority of people, I have to say, really, really dig it and totally get what we're doing.
Even though there's a very kind of brief moment where you get a snapshot into where Moses lives, and that in itself, there's nothing said at one point. It's just a quick sort of pan around his flat, and you instantly know so much about that character without anything being said in terms of his backstory and where he's come from.
This film is hopefully in a tradition of lots of movies that deal with anti-heroes. And weirdly, anti-heroes are less common now than they used to be in cinema. Like characters like, even Han Solo used to be an anti-hero. He shoots Greedo in cold blood, Indiana Jones, when he shoots the guy with the scimitars. The guy didn't even step to him.
The guy with the scimitar, he had a family.
So this is harking back to Snake Plissken, Assault on Precinct 13, when there's a little bit of, it's not moral ambiguity, but it's the idea that anybody in the world, whatever race, colour, creed, everybody has the possibility inside them to do good things or bad things, and so does our character.
Great. More questions? Hello.
I have a very upset 12-year-old when he found out it was a 15. Did you realise it was going to be a 15 and that hard, or did you just allow it because of the subject matter?
I didn't think too much about that. We just let the script and the story grow organically, really. I guess I come from a generation where films were a little more predictable little less predictable than they are now. Again, I'm thinking of the horror at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the language in the Goonies. In the 80s, you didn't quite know what you were going to get, did you? It was often a little mashup of different genres. But the short answer is that no, we didn't really think, this has to be a 12A so that we can make X amount of money or reach that market. We wanted to stay true to the world and the characters, really. But maybe we could do a King's Speech style swearing-free version. It will run about 10 minutes, but exactly.
Did you have a question at the front? Yeah, what would you like to? Jim has got a microphone for you.
I was just wondering who funded the movie, because I know that it's difficult to get money to make movies.
The film was funded by Optimum and Studio Canal and Film 4 and the UK Film Council.
So did you have that money before you started, or did you get the film together and then show people?
It's a sort of ongoing process. You write the story, then I took it to Big Talk Productions, who made Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim and Paul. They took it to Film 4. Film 4 took it to Optimum. Optimum are part of Studio Canal. So really that's about having the producers around you. I didn't have to I just concentrated on working on the script and hoped that the money would be raised. And while I was doing that, parallel to that, the producers were trying to drum up enough money. So it's a sort of evolving thing. And quite famously, sometimes movies just like drop through the day before, don't they? Because the money doesn't come together. You just have to sort of have faith that it'll happen. Proceed as if it's going to happen.
Yeah, and even worry that it gets green lit, because you can be a week before production starts and still not have that green light. So even then, you've got everything ready to go, and it may not happen. So I think for me, when we did Paul, when you're on set and you do that first shot, you're done. You know that the film's green lit, and you can relax a bit and get on with it. It's tricky, especially in this kind of current fiscal era.
First one done.
What?
First one done.
Film.
First film.
Which I know you said was kind of I think you said at the premiere kind of there was a lot more went into a film than you realised, or more work went into it and stuff. But it must mean that it's the road you want to take. You want to make more films.
Yeah, it's the first one for both John and I.
Yeah.
Not the first one for Mr. Frost.
I've been around the block a couple of times.
But yeah, I want to try and do another one, don't you, John?
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can me and John be in it?
No.
Oh.
But having that experience of working in theatre, where Joe said he saw you, your 10-minute walk on part, and then being part of this feature film, has it given you the bug for it? Is it something that
I mean, after Attack the
feature?
Block, I filmed 3 other projects which are coming out along the year. But yeah, it's been amazing working on a feature film coming from a Kilburn theatre. It's been great, and I'm humbled by the reaction to the performances, because I mean, me and the boys, we put in work because we wanted to put the message across. We are professional actors, and we want to try as much as possible, to get the right reaction from the audience. Just really thankful, grateful, to be honest.
What did you learn?
They were tremendous. Sorry, just from my point of view, coming on to set every day and working with a group of lads who hadn't done it a lot. They were the most enthusiastic, professional bunch I'd ever worked with. Really, they didn't mess around. They listened. They worked and they acted and they worked at creating characters, not just mucking around until the camera turned on. Which you would be forgiven for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
It's a laugh. It's a great place to work, but they didn't do that once. Not.
What were your expectations of working on a film, John? Did you have any? No.
Do you know what? I remember being I was on my way to set for the first day, and Joe was, you were filming the scene with Jodie when she's coming out of the station, and I just saw a whole road being blocked off. And now I go past Oval Station all the time, and I was thinking I'll see Joe like across the road with like a mini cam, just filming these little films. I saw this whole road blocked off, and I was like, so what film is that? It was like Attack the Block. I was like, right, this is big. do you know what I mean? It's exciting.
Yeah.
Really exciting.
Wow. Any more questions? Yeah. Hello.
Hi. I watched the film yesterday, and I really enjoyed how you, every time you went into each house, it showed everyone's personalities. Where did you get the ideas from each house?
From research. A lot of Attack the Block is from reality. A lot of the lines that are said are real things kids said to me during research. Too much madness for one text.
Yeah.
Better off calling the Ghostbusters. Those are real things kids said to me during the research. Seriously, I mean, those kids are bright and witty and funny and fast. Sorry. What they get is a fantastic alien mashup movie set in their neighborhood. But we took a lot from the research, you know, and weirdly a lot of filmmakers do. Every filmmaker will go and, you know, good filmmaker will go into the world and draw stuff from the world. Every writer does, really. But yeah, we used details from the research, and then we actually, our production designer gave John and Franz and Leon and Simon and Alex little flip cams, little cameras to take photos of their own bedrooms, just so we could pick out details that we thought might be useful. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ron's weed room is based on my own weed room.
Last question, I'm afraid. Gentleman there.
Greetings from Brazil.
Thank you.
So, more on the matter of raising money for the production. How hard is, since Attack of the Block is a sci-fi movie with video game reference, it must be more difficult to raise money for doing this kind of film instead of romantic comedy, for example. And what is your opinion on 3D films, new 3D movies?
On British films?
3D.
No, 3D.
3D films. I really like 3D films. I've been watching them. I saw The Polar Express when it first came out. And that's a pretty extraordinary film for various reasons. And yeah, I don't mind it, you know. Anybody else answer that? I need to think a bit about that.
About 3D films?
3D films.
Would you have ever wanted to make this in 3D?
Here's the thing. I've got an old copy of a magazine called Cinefex. Sorry, did I just interrupt you?
No, I like the term "here's a thing."
Here's a thing.
I hadn't heard it for a bit.
Edgar uses it. I got it. Edgar. Here's a thing. There's an old sci-fi magazine called Cinefex, and I have a copy of it from the 1980s 3D craze when Jaws 3D came out.
Brilliant.
And,
amazing.
It never got better.
It never got better than Jaws 3D. And you read that magazine, and the articles are word for word exactly the same articles as they've been printing in the last year. You know, is it going to stay forever? Is it the latest innovation? Personally, I think it'll probably pass in a few years. I'm going to regret saying that, probably, aren't I? But that's the feeling I get. I get the feeling it's a really cool, fun novelty, and people are working through all the different ways we can use it. It's going to be amazing to see Scorsese do a 3D film. I'd like to see Herzog and Wenders do 3D films.
So it does feel like a kind of thing. Whoa, yeah, let's get out. Let's do as many as we can, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Then it will die down, and then it will.
Yeah,
I think if they're specifically made for 3D and they're 3D enhances it, your experience of the cinema, then I think that's fine. But if you're just going to use it as a cynical marketing ploy to stick another £5 on a ticket price, then I think people will see through that eventually.
Yeah, but do you want to make a 3D film in the future?
Oh, I see. Man, I'm just learning to deal with 2D. I'm going to withhold that extra D for a while.
And on that note, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming down, and congratulations to the 11. Not quite sure how we're going to do that. 11 poster winners.
We'll rip one in half.
And thank you very much.
Thank
Have a
you
good
very
evening.
much,
everybody.
Thank you.